our most exciting part of the show today. We're doing a draft. We're reimagining the home run derby. So I had the thought the other day. I said, man, what would a home run derby relay race look like? Not four guys running in, grabbing the bat from each other and trying to hit the most home runs in a couple minutes, although that would be really fun too. Instead, this would be, all right, imagine Major League Baseball said, we're going to have teams compete in the derby, not players. And a different guy has to hit each round. Who can put together the best team of 3 home run derby hitters that can, beat out the competition and win that type of a tournament? So what we're going to do first, before we get into actually playing this thing out, is we're going to draft some trios here. So we're going to go back and forth. We're going to do a snake draft for anyone who's been paying attention to Who's Better Baseball for a while. I struggle in the snake department, but Patrick's going to keep me in line here, keep my head on straight. There's a team that has maybe the best hitter in baseball we just talked about that probably is the best for this type of a tournament. So this is important to decide who goes first. I got a coin here. I don't know if you can see it, but you got to
I can see the coin, but I can see the ridge. I can't see what's on top. I can only see straight in.
You're gonna have to trust me here, okay?
Wow.
Okay.
Really?
I'm honest. So
I think we should ask the chat and say whatever name we see first, they should go first in the draft.
Yeah.
Just put it
All
on
right.
that.
You know what? That's fine. If
but
someone watching, tell us who should draft, Patrick or Ryan. Who gets the Yankees?
And what's interesting too is like this concept of like a team of 3 is something that is done right now. That home run derby X that they do in like minor league cities all around the United States. They get some softball players in there, some former big leaguers. I think Jake Arrieta's team won it in Hartford. I'm going to keep talking before we announce who actually won. But yeah, like this is actually a really fun concept. And I think this could be something that you could do at a futures game, things of that nature. Okay. So my homeboy Ian there. What's up, dude? Pat goes first. Okay.
He apologized, but there it is. So I guess you get the first pick. So is it an open and shut case? The New York Yankees, I'm assuming, are the pick you're going to take here?
It's got to be the New York Yankees as the best trio for the home run derby. Not only do you get the best hitter in the sport right now, the last few years, as we just established, a guy who won the 2017 home run derby, becoming the first rookie to do it at the event. You also get the guy who won it the previous year in San Diego, and Giancarlo Stanton won the 2016 home run derby. And you also have a guy who won the home run derby in 2022 in Los Angeles, defeating Julio Rodriguez. And he also put up quite a show. They had to go to double overtime in 2021 in Colorado, first home run derby right after the pandemic. And I think it was 31-28, 2 left-handed hitters hitting it right to us, actually, in the auxiliary press box. We were in right field in the second deck. And it was quite a show. And you get Judge, you get Soto, you get Stanton. I'm just going to phone it in the last 3. I might let Ian just pick the rest of the way, my final 3 teams. I'm glad New York Yankees, 3 home run derby winners. No team right now currently has more than 1.
Yeah, there's a pretty clear favorite, okay, for sure. So the question is, who can maybe compete? And ultimately, you need a guy that could beat an Aaron Judge in the last round. So for the second pick in our home run derby relay draft, it's a really tough one, but I think I got to go with the Baltimore Orioles. We're going to see Gunnar Henderson. He's the first face that has shown itself to be the guy they're going to market this derby around this year. And if you can get Gunnar in that race and you have the youthful exuberance of a stud who is making a name for himself, I like what the Orioles have with Gunnar. Adley Rutschman, I don't think he performed well in a home run derby, if my memory serves correctly. So I don't necessarily love that. I don't know if I want to see a Colton Cowser, maybe a Heston Kjerstad. Maybe I get a different young guy to take that first round off of Adley's plate. I don't know. You have Santander, who could be an absolute stud in the derby as well. I'm just banking on the Orioles find their way to the final round for me, where Gunnar Henderson can take it.
And look, if there's an injury, boom, you've got substitutions left and right. I believe the Orioles have the most players, 7 that have 10 or more home runs. Like that's what we're dealing with. So, and look, if we're opening this up to guys that are on the payroll, I mean, maybe Chris Davis flies in a helicopter. Why not? Like, whatever. Look, if we're making this up, if we're doing some fantasy booking, Chris Davis as your third alongside Adley Rutschman, who, by the way, did put on a nice little show in Seattle last year, hitting from both sides of the plate. That was very entertaining. I can say that. And Gunnar Henderson, whatever your three is in Baltimore, I think that's a good pick.
Well, if I was wrong and Adley had a good tournament last year, then I feel a lot better about my selection. My memory might be failing me on that one. Look, as we're going through these teams, I'm curious, what are we doing with injured players? Because if you tell me I have a healthy Mike Trout and I can have like Mike Trout, Joe Adele, and Logan O'Hoppe or Taylor Ward, I don't love the Angels, but I'm just curious. Or Mookie Betts for the Dodgers, are we factoring them in? Because when I was going through the thought exercise, I was sort of looking at it as guys who are clearly out for this year's Derby. I wasn't considering, but where are you at on injured players as we go through this?
Well, when we originally pitched this idea to Commissioner Rob Manfred, he said, you know what? Well, we're going to have some guys that are hurt. And so I think that could really impact, how quality of an event this is. So that's ultimately why he rejected it. So you know what? Since we wanted to include the injured players and it's not going to happen, and this again is just fantasy booking, I think the injured guys definitely need to be in the mix.
All right, so if we're keeping the injured guys in, I think I like the Dodgers then for my next pick because you got Shohei Ohtani. Okay, he's going to be great in the final round. I don't love Freddie Freeman in a home run derby for whatever reason. I just feel like at that point, how much does he care anymore? He's a little later in his career. But if you tell me Mookie Betts is healthy and he can take one of the rounds, and you also have Teoscar Hernandez, I like what the Dodgers can bring, especially again if we can get that dream matchup we were just talking about. If you get Ohtani and Judge in a final round of a home run derby, that's something that we'll probably never actually get to see. But man, it'd be exciting if we did.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. The name power for those guys are great. I think Betts was in the home run derby last year.
Yeah.
Didn't fare very well. Freeman went up against Bryce Harper, lost in the first round in 2018. And again, Ohtani lost in his first round matchup in 2021, but was putting balls up in the rooftop at Coors Field. And just it was exciting. It's a moment. Actually, I have to pitch an idea for you about that 2021 home run derby. Again, coming off the pandemic and Ohtani really taking that full form, just launched him in the upper deck, taking a timeout, the entire stadium chanting Ohtani, Ohtani. And it was like, hey, baseball's back, America's back, civilization and society is back. What an amazing moment. So I think that's a good pick with the Dodgers. But man, I'm going to lock this up here with the snake draft with the next two picks.
Yeah. Wait, what do you got here?
I'm going to make this a little bit dramatic, so I'll stick the knife in on my next pick. But right now, as I just alluded to, Harper took out Freeman in 2018. The Phillies also have themselves a home run derby winner. Harper won in 2018, where he actually defeated his teammate as a finalist, Kyle Schwarber. So you had both those guys going head to head in 2018. One was representing the Washington Nationals. One was representing the Chicago Cubs. So there's definitely some history there. And then Harper actually went to the finals in 2013, where he lost to ya boy, Yoenis Cespedes there in New York. And if you actually go back and look at everyone who's participated in the home run derby, if I would ask you, and here's your water cooler question of the day that you can ask to one of your coworkers or at a bar and say, what active player participated in the oldest home run derby? I don't know that anyone would say Bryce Harper in 2013 because
Wow.
he was such a young dude. But that's the last, or rather, that's the last derby that had or the oldest derby that had an active player, right? Everyone from 2012 and before that all retired. So Harper doing that thing. So you get Harper, you get Schwarber with the Philadelphia Phillies. And then as your third, do I want Castellanos? Do I want Bohm? Don't care. I got Schwarber and I got Harper. So right there, that's going to win it. I feel good about that.
Yeah, it's a good pick. The reason why I stayed away from the Phillies was that third guy. I didn't know who the third guy was, and so I'm nervous about getting out of the first round. But yeah, when you get to Harper and Schwarber, pretty clear that you have some pretty good options. You said something about stabbing a dagger or something? Who's your next pick going to be?
The New York Metropolitans
I
with
thought you were going there. Yeah.
two-time home run derby winner Pete Alonso, who has performed really well in the last two derbies as well. So he's been really strong. I think from there you got your Francisco Lindor and JD Martinez, which it's not as surprising that Francisco Lindor has not participated in a derby, but JD Martinez, a guy like that, you think, oh man, he kind of seems perfect for a derby. And go ahead and hit the folks with that stat that I saw last night. Make sure you're following at Finkelstein Ryan on X and a lot of other social media platforms about Francisco Lindor and his home run prowess. I thought that was a great little post you fired off last night.
Yeah, he's 2 home runs away from passing or tying Jimmy Rollins for 10th most all time for shortstops, authoring a Hall of Fame career for sure. Lindor is, but the funny thing is, as much I absolutely love your pick, of course, everyone knows from what's behind me, and I'm kicking myself. Part of me wants to say, hey, can we trade the Dodgers for the Mets here? Because I love the Mets in this format. I feel like they have a really sneaky chance at it. And I don't think Lindor or JD Martinez would compete. I think it'd be the kids. I think it's Pete Alonso. And if you've been watching the Mets lately, there's been two guys that have really been a big part of their turnaround. It's Francisco Alvarez and Mark Vientos. Those kids have ridiculous power. Youth wins out in derbies a lot of times. So if to help you as far as your coach and what the Mets should do here, go Alvarez, Vientos to Alonso, and it might just be the dark horse that wins this whole thing.
When we were kicking this idea around and we were going to go with foursomes, number 4 is the dealer's choice. And I was like, I think it could be Vientos. I think that's the guy that you want there in the Derby as the number 4. So he's in the mix. But again, Alonso with the 2 Derby wins, the only player right now that's active that has 2 wins, doing it in back-to-back derbies, not back-to-back years. There was no All-Star game in 2020, and he still shows up and puts on a show. And it sort of seems like whoever beats him in the first round gets blessed going forward. And again, that was another one of those iconic moments in 2020, just bouncing around to Mob Deep and just feeling good. He's doing the weightlifting, in the National League locker room. Like, yeah, Alonso. So, I mean, I don't even think I'm going to have a 4th pick. You got 2 more. Go ahead. I got this thing locked up. Thanks, Yuki Matsui. Appreciate that again.
Yeah, yeah, it's a tough road for me to try to get back into this race. Um, Looking at some of the other options, the Braves jump out for sure.
You're
Between
just
that,
talking. You're just thinking out loud right now.
I'm just thinking out loud.
Okay.
Okay, you only got one pick left.
Okay.
Maybe I'll point you in a direction you might go towards. The Braves are an interesting one to me because you got Matt Olson, you got Marcell Ozuna, you got Austin Riley. The Padres jump out. Tatis, Machado, Jackson Merrill is the guy I look at. There's the Astros, if you want to believe in Tucker, Yordan Altuve. With all those teams, the one that I want to pick next, it's going to be the Guardians. And I'm going to throw a surprising name out there for you because we talked about Ramirez and Naylor. Who's the third? You know who I think the third is? Jowenski Noel.
Oh,
okay. We're throwing a real wild card, a guy that just came up who has, grades for 70, 70 grade power. A guy that I think we'd be like, okay, who's batting for the Guardians? But if you steal that first round and all of a sudden you got J-Ram and Naylor, I think the Guardians are a very sneaky dark horse in this race. I wanted to get them. So I like that I have the Guardians in this. And then for my final team, it's really tough to pick between the Padres, the Braves. I even like the Royals a little bit, Salvador Perez, Bobby Witt, Vinny P. But ultimately, the more that I look at it, I can't get around the idea of the Braves. The Braves, I think, deserve to be in this. Matt Olson, Marcell Ozuna, Austin Riley. That's my trio. They're my final pick here.
No, that's solid. Yeah. John Kenzie, Noel, the new Jordani Valdespin. Like, if you're looking for great names, and really the new Franmil Reyes, right? Like, just that big thumper. Like, okay, just this first 2 alone. Again, if you're talking about duos, home run hitting duos, J-Ram and Josh Naylor, have to be in that conversation. So anyone you get in third is just icing on the cake. Great pick. And yeah, and Atlanta, Ozuna doing it with the home run again this year. We know that Matt Olson's got a 50 home run season under his belt. Austin Riley is a guy that seems like he's due for 40 just about every single year. And if there's an injury, hey, Ozzy Albies is pretty good. And remember, we are including injured players. So
I
Ronald
forgot.
Acuna
Wow.
Jr., Ronald Acuna Jr.,
Out
he's
of
got some
sight, out of
history in the Derby.
mind, man. The Braves, a sneaky team at number 7. Yeah, throw Riley out for me. Olson, Ozuna, and Acuna. I like that group. I do. Who's our final pick, Patrick? Who's going to round out this tournament here?
You saved the day on that. And throwing batting practice is going to be Spencer Strider as part of his Tommy John rehab
Yeah,
on that. Like, we're fantasy booking. Come on, what are we doing? Let's go.
why not, right?
Tom Glavine, maybe put a little L screen up in front of him. All right. For my final pick, we'll get part of the logic or my research going into this, looking at teams that had at least, a couple guys that had 10 or more home runs. Believe it or not, the Padres have a lot of guys with 10 or more home runs. But after Machado and Tatis Jr., it kind of comes up a little bit thin. So they're a team that I'm out on a little bit. Vladimir Guerrero, he does have one home run derby win. Also was a finalist one time. So, you pair him with maybe Bo Bichette's that guy. Joey Votto, is he the third off the bench? I mean, now we're having some fun, aren't we? Those were some options. Did see in the chat from someone, the Astros have a really strong trio, and Yordan Alvarez, Kyle Tucker, and then Altuve, despite his diminutive stature, still, he could definitely make some noise. He could be a solid contributor there. But I'm actually going to go with 3 guys. I believe all 3 of them have done. I think Marcus Semien did get involved. The Texas Rangers, Marcus Semien, Corey Seager, who only participated once, and that was in his rookie season in 2016, and Adolis Garcia. Those 3 dudes can thump. We know they do it in the regular season. It's definitely a different beast during the home run derby, but those are the 3 guys that I'm going with my final pick, the Texas Rangers.
Texas Rangers are a nice pick. I think they have plenty of thump that you can lean in there too. So, yeah, I like that a lot. So now we have our 8 teams: Yankees, Orioles, Dodgers, Phillies, Mets, Guardians, Braves, Rangers. My question is, do we see this based on the draft order? But then a lot of our own teams are going head to head, or do we do it based on our picks? How would you like me to kind of organize our little tournament field here as we play this out as a thought exercise on which group has the best trio for a home run derby?
Yeah, but I don't want all my guys to be the final 4. So
Okay.
we can cannibalize. We could go 1-8,
All right,
Yankees,
let's do it.
Rangers, Phillies, Mets, and then that will give each of us an opportunity to match up in the finals. At least
You are doubting Joenski Noel way too much. Okay. Joenski Noel is going to win this tournament for the Guardians. All right. So let's break it down that way. So we got 1-8. Is there any world where the Rangers could take out the Yankees? So who you putting up in the first round if you're the Rangers here to go up against? My assumption would be Stanton would be the first round hitter for the Yankees.
Oh, for sure. I mean, again, I don't know how this is laying out. If you want, if you're going, for anyone that's ever participated in bowling, the last person that's in your 4 or 5 person lineup, that's your anchor. That's where it could all come down to with one spin of the ball. That's where it's going. So yeah, maybe you do want to have your bigger guys at the end. You kind of compare this to a relay race, 4x100, 4x400, whatever it may be. Of all right, look, we do need a little bit of a head start on that. So I might even sandwich Stanton in the middle there and lead off with Soto.
You might be right, yeah.
Go Judge last on that one, but I don't think there's any world in which the Texas Rangers trio can be better than the trio of Judge, Stanton, and Soto for the New York Yankees. I'd move the Yankees along on that one.
For sure. I actually think that's what would make this so fun if Major League Baseball ever did it, is that there would be strategy, right? Like if the 8 seed goes up first, they would put their best hitter probably to try to knock off the Yankees. And the Yankees, maybe they get to sit back and see how many home runs that hitter puts up and then think, all right, do we have to go to Judge in the first round? Because, oh my God, Adolis Garcia put up 30 home runs. We're going to be out of this thing. It would make this a lot of fun to see that back and forth. 2-7, Orioles versus the Braves. Now that Acuna's in the mix, I kind of feel like the Braves might be the team that moves on here. Very sneaky 7 seed. As much as I love Gunnar and Adley and Santander, to think about whether you put up Olsen, whether you put up one of the hottest hitters on the planet right now in Ozuna, or if Acuna, who has good knees, is in this tournament, I think the Braves move on. What do you think between those two teams?
This is absolutely an upset special. Atlanta is moving on to Baltimore, who has more depth than they do have front-loaded talent. I can't wait to see what Gunnar is able to do here at the Derby in Texas in a couple weeks. But Gunnar, Adley, they'll be fine. Who's going to be number 3? I don't know. Man, Acuna Jr., he's got some Derby experience. Austin Riley, Marcell Ozuna. Yeah, number 7 is moving on.
Number 7 moving on. All right, so now we got another one of my matchups here. Dodgers, Guardians. I'm making the case for Jowenski Noel here. What do we think? Do the Guardians, with their back guys of Naylor and Jose Ramirez, are they better than Ohtani, Betts, Teoscar Hernandez, Ohtani, Betts, Freeman, Ohtani, Betts, Will Smith? If this went 5 or 6 deep, it might just be the Dodgers. I don't know. What would you think? I'll defer to your judgment. Do the Dodgers move on here, or do the Guardians sneak up and we have 2 upsets?
Well, look, you and I, we dig into the numbers, we dig into the statistics. We like our fun facts to throw out there to say, man, first time since so-and-so, only Babe Ruth and this guy has ever done that, to kind of, give a little bit of a context to how great certain home run hitters are, or certain players just in general. That being said, I'm going to break the tie by saying you have not pronounced Jhonkensy Noel's name right one time this entire episode. Jhonkensy. Therefore, the Dodgers will be moving on.
Thank you for saving me from having to do that again. Some of these guys, until they establish a name for themselves, you just do your best guess. And Jhonkensy, I apologize. I did give you a lot of love, though. So you're welcome, Noel. And then also, I apologize. It goes both ways. That gets us to our last matchup of the first round. A little bit of NL East cooking here between the Phillies and the Mets. Here are your picks, but I think I'm taking the Mets. I'm biased, so we'll see what you think about it. But I think the Mets have they got Alonso, they got some young guys who can absolutely thump with Alvarez, Vientos, or if you wanted to go with the elder statesman of Lindor and JD Martinez, they got a deep roster. At the Phillies, it really falls off after Harper and Schwarber, but I'm not sure where you're leaning on this one.
I don't know. This is like a final right here in the first round, right? 2 NL East clubs. I'm torn. Alonso's got the 2 wins. Philly's got 1.5 wins. If you want to say, hey, Schwarber got to a finals once. Those 2 are better than I think any Mets 2. But then number 3, I probably would give the edge to the Mets. I'm going to let you decide this one, partially because you've been very complimentary this entire run of shows here at Who's Better Baseball. With the Phillies, you give praise, you see it how it is, you call it down the line, even if it is a team that the fan base does not like, or you might not like. You are very fair and honest. You tell me, who would win in this home run derby, Phillies or Mets?
I mean, who am I gonna say? Come on, I'm gonna take the Mets. What, do you think I'm gonna upset the apple cart? There was a fleeting thought in my mind where I said, well, in the next round, if you're telling me you get down to Schwarber and Harper, if you had Schwarber in that second round, better chance of edging out the Dodgers in that potential head-to-head. But ultimately, if it's a first round and you're telling me the Mets are going to put Mark Vientos in there against Alec Bohm, it's going to be a battle of young third baseman. Who's the better player right now? Alec Bohm. Although I don't know. Vientos has been pretty good lately. You still got to give Bohm the nod as far as just longer track record. If it's just pop, though, home run power, there's no doubt in my mind that Mark Vientos would beat Alec Bohm in a home run derby. So the Mets move on. That gives us our final 4: Yankees, Dodgers, Mets, Braves. And we open it up with the Yankees versus the Braves. I don't know how I make this argument. You got Juan Soto going up probably against, maybe it's Ozuna in that second round, or maybe it's Acuna. Maybe that's the funner one. If it was Acuna versus Soto in a derby, I think it really would just be dealer's choice. But I don't know if I can say that the Braves are going to beat the Yankees in a home run derby. I just don't know.
No, and they might give the best fight, I guess, of any team, because the six guys that you put up, uh, outside of Ozuna, I mean, we're talking. You could be looking at 5 Hall of Famers right there. I know Matt Olson's got a long way to go. Acuna Jr.'s got a long way to go as well. But these are right now, from their generation, just some of the best sluggers around. So, yeah, I think the Yankees again would win that one, but it would be fun to actually see it play out, because again, what is true on paper isn't always true in reality. So it would be incredibly interesting to see, how that would play out. But yeah, you got to like the Yankees over Atlanta on that one.
I think so. I think so. So Aaron Judge has made it to the final round. His teammates got him there. Who's he going to go up against? Dodgers, Mets. I don't know exactly who would be competing at this point for the Dodgers. This is where it would get very interesting, where a Mets could sneak in and take it. It's almost, who would you prefer to see in the final round? Shohei Ohtani or Pete Alonso against Aaron Judge? That's really where I'm looking at this one. What are your thoughts on Dodgers Mets in the second round here?
Well, yeah, again, depending on the matchups that we would have, that certainly would shift the narrative a little bit. But I think just the Dodgers, just one through three, right? Like those guys are just really strong when it comes to the home run. Freddie Freeman, I think you're right. I have my doubts in a home run derby how that would play out, because it's a kind of a different skill set than his. I feel like he's more hit to contact, but there's plenty of power in there. Whereas just having the stroke and just staying in that rhythm is going to do you that much more favor going forward with that. So I would tend to lean towards the Dodgers on that. Your team, the Dodgers, in going past the Mets in a home run derby like this.
I actually think that the Mets probably had the better derby hitters, but at the same time, if the Dodgers got through the first round without using Teoscar Hernandez, I feel like he's actually the guy that would have a home run swing that would cater itself to a derby pretty well. And if it ended up being Teoscar against Lindor, Teoscar against Alvarez, whatever it ended up being, I could see the Dodgers getting the edge, which then brings us to the conversation we just had. Judge Ohtani, who would be better in a home run derby setting at this stage? I don't know. What are your thoughts on, if they were both to compete this year in the derby, who would you put the money on? Would it be Aaron Judge or would it be Shohei Ohtani?
I feel like I have to go so far as to look at the dimensions of Globe Life Field to see right field or left field, who's going to gain an edge. If this was in Camden Yards, shoot, sorry, Aaron, but you got to go Ohtani. If this was at Yankee Stadium, you got to go with the left-handed swing, of course, of Shohei Ohtani. But these two guys going against each other, I would tend to think, Judge. I would give the edge to him. Yes, he does have a Derby win, and Ohtani does not. He lost in the first round, but Ohtani still put on an incredible show in 2021. Had he gone up against anyone other than Juan Soto there in the first round, you could have seen him move on and, replenish, get some more of those electrolytes in, pace himself just a little bit. Everything that we know about Ohtani, he studies up for these things. So if he's got his mind made up on participating in the Derby, he's probably doing it before the season starts, and he's thinking about that. He's picking the brains of other guys who've participated in the home run derby, from Betts, from Teoscar, other teammates who've done that, and trying to figure out, okay, how can I do this? How do I stay fresh? It's a little bit of a marathon, but it is a sprint as well. And I think he would be very much schooled up to perform well, but the raw power of Aaron Judge, I think, would just come out on top.
I think you're probably right there, and this whole format would be so interesting because I wonder if you would get some of the big hitters if they didn't have to go through 3 rounds. If you sold to Aaron Judge, you're not competing for yourself. You're competing for the New York Yankees, and you're going to be part of this relay where you're going to see Soto and Stan the first couple rounds that get you to the final. It's all on you. I feel like it might get some of the better names back into this tournament. But also at the same time, as we're getting closer and closer to the Derby, maybe our next show we might have a roster we can dive into and discuss. It's so much fun to see those new names get their chance. And we talked about a lot of guys throughout the show today who have that past home run derby glory typically at the beginning of their careers. So Gunnar Henderson is the guy that I think all eyes are on right now. We'll see who else enters this race. Maybe you do see a Mark Vientos get in there just because they need to fill out a roster, and he's a young guy that's hit a lot of home runs. We'll see who else decides to step up and be part of it. Does Pete Alonso want to do it again? I think that would be his fourth Derby, if I'm not mistaken.
Fifth. I think it might be his fifth. I think he's participated in the last two. Yeah, in LA.
Oh yeah, he won the first two that he was in 2019 and 21. So yeah, I think you're right. I think he has been in the last two and
He's addicted.
I would not be surprised at all if he still did it again. Personally, I feel like last year when I was watching, I'm like, man, you're almost ruining your Derby legacy by still going at it.
Yeah.
But
and we almost had no more Alonso Derby. Because if you remember, and I know you do, after 21, he won it. In the beginning of 2022, for whatever reason, there was like, well, look, I'm not having a great first half. If they don't ask me, I'm never doing it again. I'm going to take my bat and I'm going to go home and I'm never going to do it. And then he's been in the last two derbies. Like he's hooked.
Yeah.
He's absolutely addicted to it. Alonso's going to be there.
Yeah, he probably will be. I can't remember if it was his first one or his second one, where his cousin threw to him. It might have been the second one. But like one of the most impressive Derby wins ever was watching Alonso win with his cousin, where his cousin threw some of the worst BP. All due respect to the cousin, I would be the same way. The amount of yips that I would have trying to pitch in a home run derby, it would be awful. But Pete Alonso made for that tournament. We'll see if he's in it. We'll be breaking down that whole roster whenever we get it on a episode of Who's Better Baseball. Appreciate
Ellie De La Cruz. Ooh, come on. We got to put that out into the world so that it happens. That's the one other young guy that Christopher Morel. Okay, that'd be cool, right?
I think Morel,
he's young. But like if you're just talking about pure excitement, who you have to have Gunnar, you have to have Ellie De La Cruz. Make it happen, Bob. I'm talking to the commissioner. Bob, make it happen.
I agree. Yeah, let's actually. I'm trying to look and see if there's any other names that jump out. Has Rafi Devers ever done one? He's a guy that's got a lot of home runs this year.
I don't believe so. No.
So Rafi Devers, Brent Rooker got a lot of home runs. There's always a name in there. Like how did he get
Paul DeYoung? Are we doing that? He's got 15 home runs.
He does. Brian De La Cruz is 15 too.
Brent Rooker does deserve a reasonable consideration. He does.
Riley Green, 15 home runs this year. That's a young guy to make a name for himself. So there's a lot of potential to pack some young talent into this derby and see what happens. But yeah, Gunnar and Ellie De La Cruz. If you told me right now, dream final matchup in the home run derby this year, I don't know if there's anything better than Gunnar versus Ellie. That would be awesome.
And I can't remember because they've kind of screwed up the All-Star game a little bit with the different jerseys that they wear. Let the players wear their team jersey in the field so that the casuals know who the hell they're looking at and what team they play for. So I think they've reversed it. Instead of the home run derby jersey, now they wear their team jersey. The orange and the red, Orioles, Reds, Ellie versus Gunnar. Come on. Make it happen. Look, if we can rig the NBA Finals, let's just go ahead and rig the home run derby to make sure that happens. Come on.
Yeah, no, that's the matchup we want. And yeah, you are right. That is what they do. They should make it across the whole entire week. Let's just keep the guys in their actual jerseys. But we will see them wearing their own threads for the home run derby, and then it'll be National versus American League just so they can sell those extra jerseys. Who's buying those this year? Come on. But we'll see how all these rosters shake out. That's another thing we'll be talking about next week. The All-Star rosters at some point are going to get released. So that's going to be a lot of fun as well to see how many guys can crack the game, how many guys are going to be out because of injury. It will be a ton of fun to discuss. We'll be back with another edition of Who's Better Baseball next week. Talk about all of it. Make sure you find our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. Every single episode that we do on the streams, we break it up into smaller videos that are released throughout the week. So appreciate all of you. Check that out. We have the podcast as well, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. And you can find us at Who's Better BB on social media, and check out our next stream next week.